Hello, how are you? Greg Goodman joining you for episode 201 of Southern Gospel Now. Our program is made possible by Daywind.com, where you'll find Southern Gospel CDs, soundtracks, and Christian products. Award-winning musician and producer Gary Jones passed away Sunday evening, April 27th, after a brief battle with metastatic cancer. He was 62 years old. He had a long and celebrated career in gospel music, first gaining national attention with the Pensacola, Florida-based group, the Dixie Echoes. However, he rose to his most notable position with the award-winning Gold City Quartet. Daniel Riley talks about Gary's influence on Gold City.
I credit Gary Jones with creating the iconic Gold City sound. As he started getting into producing the group in the latter part of the 80s, it became very popular. A sound that was different than what everybody else was doing. And the last time I'd seen Gary was when we were inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. He came to that. I hadn't talked to him. He'd moved to Texas, and, we lost touch. But Josh, he sang with Gary in a group called Mercy's Mark, and they became really close. And Josh had stayed in touch with him. And when Josh came with us, it sort of opened that dialogue again. We got to thinking, and I talked to Michael Sykes, who started this record with us. Where we are right now, we just thought, if we could get Gary in here. And Michael's like, man, that's the perfect fit for where you guys are. So we made that transition, but it's just another cool story of how Gary got back involved. He was in a place in his life that he needed this. He had sort of gotten away from the production and all that, and when he got involved, he really got involved. And Gary, I grew up with Gary. He started with Gold City in 1981. So it was very cool for me. And to watch him work, it's obvious as he has moved this group into that same sort of vein. He accomplished everything that we dreamed that he would accomplish.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Gary Jones. The Chuck Wagon Gang just added a new upright bass player to their lineup. Many great musicians applied, but Ronnie Parker stood out. Ronnie grew up in a musical family and started playing upright bass at the age of 10. He began playing professionally at the young age of 13 with the bluegrass gospel band New Highway. The Chuck Wagon Gang has been working on a forthcoming project. Shay Smith comments on the instrumentation that creates the distinctive sound of the Chuck Wagon Gang.
Well, when we come into the studio, we still keep the acoustic guitar and the upright bass, which we use on stage when we sing live. But when we come in the studio, there are other instruments added that add to the thickness of the sound. There's a little mandolin on a few of them, a little bit of fiddle. There's a couple songs with a little banjo on them. So that gives a thicker texture, kind of helps pep it up a little bit.
You certainly recognize the Chuck Wagon Gang when you hear their one-of-a-kind sound. You never know when God is bringing something amazing together for you. Rodney Griffin tells us the story of how he met his wife Regina at a Greater Vision concert.
It was April 28, 1994. Greater Vision was singing in Mount Vernon, Kentucky at the elementary school at a Right to Life concert. We had set up and I'd gotten ready for the concert. I'm standing there behind the record table a few minutes before it started, and a pastor walked up and introduced me to a beautiful young lady named Regina Benj, and we shook hands and had some small talk there. Later on in that concert, during the intermission, the pastor came back to me privately and said, "That girl I introduced you to, she's the real deal." Well, for some reason, those words stuck in my mind, and I looked her up, called her, went on our first date in May, and we got engaged in July, married in December, and that's been 31 years ago. So you never know what's awaiting for you at a concert, and God seems to be always working behind the scenes to bless us really good.
What a lovely story. We hear a lot about AI these days, and the Southern Gospel field is addressing it. Leading music publishers from the Southern Gospel genre recently met to discuss the implications of artificial intelligence, or AI, on songs, songwriters, and song demos within the industry. The meeting was said to be highly productive. Rick Shelton, Vice President of Daywind Music Publishing, sums up their thoughts.
It's my personal belief that songs intended to reach souls with the gospel must be created by souls who are living in relationship with Jesus. If the angels can't sing the songs of the redeemed, how can we allow algorithms to write the songs of the redeemed?
The consortium agreed on several key points. First, the songs promoted should reflect the heart and efforts of human creators. Second, the integrity of the songwriting and pitching process must remain beyond reproach, applying equally to both music and lyrics. Third, the intended use of AI is never to create the lyric or melody itself, but to rather provide a demonstration of what the original song sounds like. Finally, to alleviate concerns artists may have regarding the originality of the songs submitted for their consideration, the publishers are willing to provide a signed statement with each submission affirming its authenticity. Furthermore, the publishers said they were committed to an ongoing dialogue and education with the songwriters they represent regarding recognition of ethical boundaries. Members of this committee are Rick Shelton of Daywind Music Publishing, Greg Bentley and Chris White of Crossroads, Chris White Music, Reggie Stone and Randy Cox of Blank Slate Music, Joel Lindsay of Sunset Gallery Music, and Dave Clark of Sunday Best Music. When you think of seeing your favorite Southern gospel group in concert, you probably expect to see them at a local church. Well, that would be the norm, but there are always exceptions. Grant Gibson of Karen Peck and New River tells us about a different Southern gospel experience.
You know, over the years, I've had opportunities to sing in a lot of different places and events, fairgrounds, co-ops, rodeos, you name it. But I was looking over our schedule and I noticed a first. We are actually booked at a wrestling event. And you heard me right. Yes, we have a gospel singing and wrestling event all wrapped up into one. I have no idea what this is going to be, but I know it's going to be fun. Talking to the promoter, I know that he has a heart for missions and for Christ and reaching his community. So that's what it's all about. I think there's going to be a lot of fun that night. And I told the group, you know, if the action in the ring gets slow, we can always send Karen and Susan up there with a folding chair and let them get in the action too. So you never know what's going to happen.
Ringside seats are available for that gospel wrestling event. Are you going through a tough time? Triumphant Quartet's Clayton Inman wants to offer you some hope.
I'm pretty sure there is someone listening to this right now who's had a kick in the gut. You know, maybe something that's taken place, a tragedy or even just some event that's been really unnerving, and you don't know where you're going to go from there. As a child of God, we are promised that He will never leave us, never forsake us. And it really doesn't matter how deep that water is that you feel like it's covering you, you're not alone.
Clayton is featured on Triumphant's latest song, Deep Waters. Time for a look at the top songs of the week from the Power 50 chart.
Number 5.
Can he, could he, would he? Mark Trammell Quartet.
Can he, could he, would he? Yes, he can, he could, he would, and he did.
Number 4.
I Just Stopped By on My Way Home, The Kingsmen.
I just stopped by on my way home.
Number 3.
I'd Rather Hear Preaching, Greater Vision.
I'd rather hear preaching, singing, shouting, where everyone's agreeing, nobody's down.
Number 2.
If Not for Christ, The Wisnuts.
If not for Christ.
Number 1.
Life Giving Us Life, Peach Goldman.
I see the life giving us life.
Congratulations to Peach Goldman on holding on to top honors for a second week with Life Giving Us Life. That's our program. I hope you'll explore our earlier episodes and an archive of interviews with your favorite Southern Gospel artist. You can do that at southerngospelnow.com or wherever you find podcasts. Southern Gospel Now is brought to you in part by SouthernGospelPrizes.com, where currently you can register for the Good Answers Prize Pack from Karen Peck and New River. Registration and details available at SouthernGospelPrizes.com. I'm Greg Goodman. Thank you for joining me. Love your neighbor. I'll see you next week with more Southern Gospel news on Southern Gospel Now.